Assassin's Creed is one of the greatest franchises in gaming history. Almost every single game in the series has aged like fine wine. The stories, the characters, the gameplay, everything is staggering even to this day. But what about some of the newer entries? What about the RPG saga of Assassin's Creed games? Well, I wouldn't be the only one when I say I didn't like the direction Ubisoft was taking the franchise in. I preferred the more linear style of play, with stories that intrigued the player and gameplay that never felt like it was too repetitive. But with the release of Assassin's Creed Mirage, Ubisoft marketed a return to the roots, going back to what made Assassin's Creed games, focusing more on stealth and removing some elements that made most fans hate playing Odyssey or Valhalla. I went into Mirage with low expectations. After just finishing Odyssey, I didn't have much hope for future titles, but Mirage surprised me in many good ways and some bad ones. In this video, I will discuss the story, world building, and gameplay of Assassin's Creed Mirage, and why I think that this is a step in the right direction. The narrative of Assassin's Creed Mirage revolves around Basim ibn Ishaq, the former antagonist of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and one of the most interesting Assassin's Creed characters to date. The story documents Basim's life in 9th century Baghdad, and how he ended up as the Basim we see in Valhalla. I really liked a lot of the story elements presented in Mirage, such as the Jinni, a ghost that has haunted Basim for as long as he can remember. In my experience, the narrative got more confusing as the game went on, raising more questions than answers. But that kept me wanting to play more and reach the ending, and when I did, it made me feel fulfilled with the narrative. The conclusion of Mirage is one of the best endings I have played in an Assassin's Creed game. It ties up all of its loose ends and answers most, if not all, of the questions the player is asking as the story unfolds, and also has one of the biggest plot twists I've seen in a video game. If you're wondering what that plot twist is, you should definitely play the game, as it is 100% worth it. One criticism of this game I do have is it should have been longer. By longer, I don't mean 80 hours long like Valhalla. I mean 4 to 5 hours longer than it already is. The main story currently takes 15 to 20 hours to finish on average, and it took me 16 to reach the credit screen. Even with all the praise I have given the conclusion, I will say that it felt a bit rushed. Given a few more hours, I really think the story could have excelled. But that is the only major criticism I have for the story. In my opinion, you should play the game just for its narrative, as it is one of the best we have seen in a long time from the Assassin's Creed franchise. The world of Assassin's Creed Mirage is one of my favorites in the whole series. I often found myself just walking through the crowded streets of 9th century Baghdad and getting immersed in the world. There are 4 sections of the actual city of Baghdad: Harabia, which is the industrial district of the city; Abyssinia, which is the cultural and intellectual hub of the city. This is where the House of Wisdom is located. Karkh is the market district, and lastly, the Round City, which is where the city of Baghdad firstly began, and it shows. It is walled off from all of the other districts and houses the rich and wealthy. Each part of Baghdad is unique in its own way. Unlike the copy and pasted cities of Odyssey, all of the districts of Baghdad have their own identity. I think it's better to show you than to try and explain what I mean. I love the fact that I know when I'm in the market district, or when I'm walking through the dirty streets of Abasia without needing a map. I think Mirage has the best open world of all the last 4 entries, even beating Origins. What is the most important element of a video game? Some people would say, well, it's the narrative, and others might say, the setting and how well crafted the world is. But most people are likely to say that it's the gameplay. And I think Mirage's gameplay is its weakest element. Let's break down the combat, for example. The combat is simple, maybe a little too simple. You have a parry, a block mechanic, a light attack, a heavy attack, and the only primary weapon type in the entire game is a sword. That's basically it. There is no weapon variety whatsoever, and the skills in the skill tree feel like they don't matter during combat. I wouldn't have a complaint about the simpler combat system if it didn't feel as clunky as it does. The open combat of Mirage is even worse than Odyssey in my opinion, which is saying a lot. Admittedly, the stealth is better than all of the previous RPG games, with one-hit assassinations making a comeback and a much wider range of options in stealth gameplay. I believe Ubisoft intended for you to play the game as stealthily as possible. I don't have many complaints about the game's stealth systems, except one. The AI is horrible. The enemies can literally only see what's in front of them. There can be 2 guards standing next to each other, and you can assassinate one of them without the other one batting an eye. The parkour, however, has made a minor improvement, but still has a lot more ground to cover. It can feel clunky at times, but finally, after a long while in the Assassin's Creed franchise, you can't just grab onto thin air and pull yourself up like in Odyssey and Valhalla. The gameplay of Mirage left much to be desired, but still, even with its flawed state, it is a step in the right direction, and hopefully is improved upon majorly in the upcoming titles. At the end of the day, I'm just happy that Ubisoft is realizing that the player base wants to go back to the older style of Assassin's Creed games, and catering to a majority of the fans by returning to the roots. I wouldn't be the only one when I say I'm really excited to see what Ubisoft has next for the franchise, and how they further improve on this new formula of Assassin's Creed. Thank you for watching.